Hey, I'm Sohi. You're watching Fusion360 Says, and this is the first video in a 6-part series on product design, building stuff out, and learning Fusion 360. So we're going to jump right in. You're going to learn the very basics of Fusion, and basically by the end of this class, you're going to know how to do some sketching, basic 3D modeling, a little bit of editing, and in the second part of the video we're going to go through how you 3D print and how you can get some renders out. So let's jump right in. This is the lampshade you guys will be building during this class. It looks pretty cool. It might look super scary and hard to build, but I promise you it's actually very easy. So you'll be looking at a screen like this right now. Basically, this is Fusion 360. This is what you're going to be seeing. At the top here is your tools. Over here is a browser. This is where, as you model, everything that you build is going to show up there. So if you ever do a 2D drawing, you make a 3D piece, you do a construction plane, whatever it is, it's always going to end up here in the browser. Down here is comments. We'll talk about that in another video. You have your timeline down here, and the timeline basically is going to record everything that you do as you do it, meaning that if you make a mistake or you need to make a change, you can rewind time on your model, and you can also just double click on one of these things and make a change to it. That might not make a huge amount of sense right now, but as we get into it, it'll make a lot of sense. In the top right thing over here, we've got the cube. This is your navigation cube. This basically helps you rotate and look around your model. You just grab it with the mouse and move it around, and you can click on the different faces. Your little home button, if you ever get lost, you can click on that. Down here at the bottom, we've got a couple of settings and options. You can orbit the model manually this way if you like to. Some people prefer that. You can use the look at button, which I'll show you how that works later on. The panning tool, which is just going to pan the model around, zooming in and out, and then a zoom window which will let you pick an area to zoom in on, or you can pick fit the model, which is not going to do anything right now because I don't have anything in this one. And then over here you've got display settings, so you can see my display settings here. I'd recommend that you use the same ones that I do. You don't have to, but for the sake of this video, you might find it a bit easier just to copy what I'm doing. Grids, we'll talk about these in another video as well. And then viewports. Now I use the single viewport. I think it's great. It does everything really nicely. You can pick a multiple viewport mode as well, which is going to show you basically your same model on 4 different mini screens, so you can see it at an angle, and then like the front, the side, and the right, if that's what you want. But I'm going to go back to single view. That's what I prefer. Now, one other thing is, it might not look like you've got a lot of tools up here, but actually if you see, you've got a little drop down menu and you can go through all these tools. We're going to be sticking to these two and the sketching one today. We use a little bit of construct as well. Over here you can see you've got different workspaces. So right now we're in model. I'm just going to quickly explain what these 6 are. So model is basically solid modeling. So if you model a cube and you cut it in half, you'd basically have a solid object. Like if you sawed through that, you'd see that it was filled in. Now, if you made the same cube in the patch environment, you would actually just have the surfaces. So it looked like a cube, but if you chopped it in, there'd be no thickness, which is not so great if you want to make it in the real world, but it has its uses. Rendering is basically where you're going to make everything look pretty and set things up when you want to show off your work. Animation, you're not going to make a Pixar movie. Why would you want to? It's a lot of work. But what you can do here is you can do basically explosions, you can do pan-arounds and rotations, you can show how your model works and basically give people a really good idea of what's happening in it. Simulation's a really good place to basically test stress, and you can also do thermal simulation now, which is a really cool thing that Fusion has had added to it. Basically what this means is that if you want to test your project before you build it, you can start adding forces to it and see how much force it can take before it breaks. Thermal is basically going to show you how well it transfers heat. That's really good if you're doing things like brake discs or like really like heavy engineering projects. And then finally CAM. And CAM is basically CNC milling. For those of you who don't know about CNC milling, I'm going to put a video over here, let's say, to the main Fusion 360 channel, and that'll show you how that works. Okay, so let's jump right in. So to build this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a 2D drawing. So to do that, I'm going to go over to Sketch and Create Sketch. And I'm going to basically have these three planes show up. And these three planes are asking me where I want to do my drawing. Now, for the sake of this one, I'm going to pick this front plane over here. So when I click on it, it's going to jump into this 2D view that is looking at that plane. And I'm just going to pan my view over a little bit. And you can see down here I've got this guy, and this guy is the origin point of your drawing. Now, your Fusion grid basically goes to infinity, but it has a 0 point, and that 0 point is this guy over here. And this is important for this video. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to Sketch, and I'm going to go to Line. And I'm going to draw two lines here. I'm going to start at the origin, and I'm going to draw one out like that. I'm not really going to pay any attention to the dimension there. And then I'm going to click on this tick here. And that tick basically says that I'm done drawing this line, but I want to stay in the line tool. So you can see that next to my mouse, I've still got the little line icon, meaning that I can start drawing another line. And now I'm going to click there again and draw up and just outwards like that. And you can see that I can keep drawing outward this time because I didn't hit that tick. So I'm going to do that and then hit OK. Now I'm going to hit Escape on my keyboard. And I'm going to go back to Sketch, and I'm going to pick Sketch Dimension. And now what Sketch Dimension does is basically, when you click on these lines, it lets you add a dimension in. For this lampshade, I'm working with an Ultimaker, so I know that the Ultimaker bed is basically got like a safety margin of 180 millimeters by about 200 millimeters upwards. It can print bigger than that, but I try to stay a little bit inside of those limits. And the reason that I'm telling you that right now is that this is kind of important for the way that I build this lampshade. There we go, that's the word I was looking for. So if I've got 180 millimeters across, and what I'm drawing right now is the profile of my lampshade, I know that whatever I do has to be half that. So it can't be bigger than 180 millimeters divided by 2. So if you're not very good at maths, you could just type 180 over 2 and press enter, and you'll see that it's changed my dimension to 90 down there. Now I think 90 is actually a little bit too big, so I'm just going to double click on it and change that just to 80. And then I'm going to click on this one here, and I'm going to make that a little bit taller. I think that's a bit short. I'm going to make this guy 150, and just zoom out a little bit so I can see everything. Pan over, and click this, whoops, click this guy here. And I'm going to make that one a little bit bigger. I'm going to make that, let's go with 40. 40 sounds good. All right. You might see that my lines have changed color now. So they were blue to begin with, and now they've gone black. And basically the reason that they're black now is that Fusion's communicating to me through the color that these lines are fully constrained. It means that they're locked in their angles, they're locked in their dimensions, and they're locked in their position as well. So if I try to grab these, nothing's going to happen. I can't move it around, I can't change the distance on them. They're locked in place, and that's really good for what I want to do here, because this means that later on, if I want to make changes, I can just double click on these and make a change to it there. So now I need to connect this through to create the profile of my lampshade. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to use the spline tool. So I'm going to click on spline. And the way that the spline tool works is basically you click at a point that you want to start. And as you pull and click, you can see that this shape is starting to appear. And that's the profile of my lampshade. And now when I click here, you can see this little blue square that's telling me that I'm selecting the end point of that line. When I click on that one and hit this green tick to approve the profile, you'll see that this color has filled in the sketch, and that basically lets you know that your sketch is solid, so that when you go into making something 3D from it, this color fill basically is telling you that, yeah, this is a good drawing, everything is connected together and it's closed, and it's definitely going to work when you want to make something from it. Now, I'm not really happy with that shape. I think that's a little weird. I've got a couple of options here. I could just delete the line and draw it again, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick on some of these control points, and you can see I've got this crazy like black and green stuff showing up. Basically the black points are the anchor points in my drawing, so you can see that as I pull those on my spline, how that's affecting my spline. And then if I click on the line again, these green ones are the tangencies at those arcs. You can see this little arc, green arc that's appeared. And if I pull that and stretch it out and do that with it, you can see how that affects it as well. That's gone a bit too crazy for me. I think basically I've got too many anchor points here, so I'm just going to pick that one and hit delete on my keyboard. And that's going to get rid of that one. And I think I don't need that one either. And I'm going to pull this guy out a little bit like that and make it a bit bulbous over here. Pull that one like this and do that. Oh, it's a bit too much for me. Just going to change that shape up a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my sketch by clicking on that guy, and I'm going to hit the home button up here so that I can see my drawing properly. I'm just going to pan it down a little bit. Okay, so now to make this 3D, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Create, and I'm going to hit Revolve. So when I click on Revolve, I can click on this profile. And you'll see over here on my dialog box that my profile says 1 selected in it. And next, oh, that's my doorbell. And I'm back. All right, so that was a little weird. This is with my dialog box. My dialog box is basically going to tell me everything that I can do in this tool. So you can see it's basically telling me that I'm in the Revolve. It's asking me for a profile and for an axis. So next I'm going to just click on axis. So if I select that one, and I can pick the vertical edge of my drawing, and that, when I click on that, is going to give me my shape. So you can see that it's just jumped right in. Next, in the dialog box, you'll see that I am currently using type angle. And if I open that up, you can see you've got a couple more options. We'll go through those other options in another video because they're not going to make any difference to this one for now. But just to show you what angle does, if I move to the top view, you can see I've got this wheel. And that wheel is controlling my degrees of the revolve. So obviously if I type 360, that's a full revolve and that brings it through. But just for now, what I'm going to do is do a little bit of a Pac-Man, waka 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 waka, because I can. And then go back to 360 and hit OK and go to my home view. All right, so I've got my basic shape here. Now, you making your one, maybe you don't like the shape that you made. You don't have to hit undo or anything. If you go down here to your timeline, you can just double click on that sketch that you did and you can grab anchor points and move them around to change the shape. So if I do that to mine, let me do something a little extreme. So if I do that to mine, just so you can really see what it does. And if I stop the sketch, and you can see just instantly, Fusion has recalculated that revolve that you did and it's changed the shape of your lampshade. Now, I'm not so keen on that flying saucer, so this is one of those few instances where I'm actually going to use undo and just do that and stop the sketch and bring it back into that shape. All right, cool. So that's our general shape. This is currently basically solid, not very useful as a lampshade. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go under Inspect, and I'm going to use Section Analysis. And you can see it's asking me for a face that I want to use. Then I'm going to go over to my browser and turn my origin on, which are my 3 grid planes for my origin drawing, basically origin planes. So you know when I did that drawing earlier on, I picked one of these origin planes. And I'm going to pick that guy there, so you can see that's highlighted, and click on that. And what the section analysis has done is basically chopped my drawing at that point, but not actually broken it into 2 pieces. It's just showing me, like it's a visual thing to show me the inside of that drawing. Now, I'm not going to play around with these. I could just move these around if I want to, which will show me a section at a different point, and the angles, these wheels will change the angle as well. But I don't want to make any changes to those. So you can see here I've got 0, 0, 0, which is what I want. Great. And put that back there actually. And hit OK. Alright, now the reason I've done that is that the next tool I'm going to use over here under Modify is called Shell. And what Shell's going to do is basically we'll take a solid object and then turn it into a skin. So it's asking me for a face or a body. Now this is kind of important because I want to shell the whole thing and not just from a single face, rather than selecting the body, because if I try to select the body here and then type a distance, it's going to create a vase. And that's not what I want. So I'm going to just undo that. I want to shell the whole thing so that it's a solid object for the time being. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up here, bodies, and you'll notice, by the way, that at the beginning of this, you didn't really have a lot happening in here, but now you have bodies with body 1. You've got sketches with your sketch drawing in it, which the light bulb is turned off, so Fusion automatically has switched that off after you've used it. It's not gone, I could just turn it back on there. And I have one for analysis. So everything is being organized automatically for you as you go along, which is super handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on body 1. And you can see already it remembered the 2 millimeters that I typed earlier on, and it's done an outside shell. Now actually what I want is an inside shell, so I'm just going to change that to inside and type 2 here. You know what, I'm actually going to make mine 2.4 because I know that I'm 3D printing this later on. So I'm going to type 2.4. Just make it a little bit thicker, but basically as thin as the 3D printer can do. And I'm just going to hit OK. Cool. Alright, so if I jump back over to this lampshade, you'll see that there's this really cool pattern work happening on it. But you'll also notice that there's a stop at the bottom and a stop at the top. Now the reason those stoppers are there are basically for the strength of the lampshade. Now we're not really talking a huge amount about product design right now, we're really just going through how Fusion 360 works. But just to step aside for a second and talk about product design, if you did that pattern from top to bottom, because you know that you're manufacturing it by 3D printing, that would make it really weak, because the pattern would go all the way to the top and there's no strength basically to stop the compression, so that if at any point, even though as a lampshade not a lot is really happening to it force-wise, you don't want to be in a position where it might crack or break. So the easiest way to basically fix that is to create a band at the bottom and a band at the top, which is going to give it strength because those areas are solid. So that was a really long-winded way of saying that we're going to chop this body in 3 places now. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my origin off before I start this. And I'm going to go to Construct and Offset Plane. And I'm going to pick that top face of my model. And you can see I've got this orange grid, which is basically telling me what my construction plane is. And I'm going to type -10. And the reason I type minus is that if I go back to 0, you'll see that my arrow is pointing upwards right now. So if I type 10 now, over here, that's not really helpful to me because it's going the wrong way. I can always just put a minus in front of it, and it's going to go the other way. Great, that's exactly what I want. Hit OK. And now I'm going to just rotate with my navigation cube to see the bottom of my drawing and do the same thing. Go Construct, Offset Plane, pick that one, and it's pointing the wrong way again for me, so I'm just going to type -10 and hit OK. These grids, by the way, they're resizable, so if they're too big or they're too small or whatever, you can just grab an edge and you can move it like that, or you can grab a corner and move it like that. It doesn't actually need to cover the whole of your model, and you'll see why in the next step. So next I'm going to go to Modify, and I'm going to go down to Split Body, and I'm going to pick my body to split. So you can see over here is asking for body to split. And then I'm going to ask for the splitting tool. So the splitting tool, I'm going to pick that one. And you'll see this red disc. And that red disc is basically showing you where that cut is going to happen. So if I rotate around, you can see what's happening. And that cut is going to happen where my construction plane was. That construction plane, because it's a construction plane, it actually goes to infinity. The grid that you see, the orange square, that's basically just there for reference for you, so you can visualize where that is in space. So with that done, I'll just hit OK. And you can see I've got that edge line now there, and that's showing me that I've got a split. And you can also see I've got an extra body in my body folder. So I'm going to do the other split for the top one there. And this time, rather than just going to modify and split body, just to show you another way that you can do that is that if you right click, you'll see the last tool that you use is up here on this wheel. I'm going to talk more about this wheel in another video, but for now, I'm just going to click on that. So next, just click my body, go to splitting tool, pick that, hit OK, and you'll see now I've got 3 bodies. Now for the next step, I don't want to affect this bit and I don't want to affect that bit down there. So I'm going to turn, I'm going to open up construction, I'm going to turn plane 2 and plane 1 off, and then I'm going to turn off body 3 and body 2. Now those are just the numbers that my top and bottom have been given. Yours might have different numbers, just make sure that you're turning the top and the bottom piece off. I'm going to turn my analysis off as well because I don't need that on for now. And I'm going to go to construct and offset plane and turn my origin on again and pick that front plane one more time. And this time I'm going to just grab the blue arrow and I'm just going to move it until this construction plane is somewhere outside of my lampshade. So that looks like a good position. I'm going to hit OK there. And now I'm going to create a new sketch on that construction plane that I just created. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to jump to my 2D view. Now if I was unsure whether I was on that construction plane or not, I can just rotate round and you'll see that my grid is where that construction plane was. So that basically is telling me that my 2D drawing is happening somewhere away from my lampshade. So my lampshade is here and my drawing is happening somewhere over here, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so I want to use some of this of my 3D model as a reference. I'm just going to turn my origin off again. So I'm going to go to Sketch and then down to Project/Include and pick Project. It's P on the keyboard if you want to use the keyboard shortcut. So I'm just going to basically click on my lampshade there and then hit OK. And you'll see that I've got these purple dots and purple lines, which are basically the silhouette of my lampshade brought into the 2D space. And then I'm going to just turn off the master folder for the bodies because I don't need to worry about that right now. So a couple of things I need to do first. I'm going to go to Sketch and Line, and I'm going to hover over the middle point down here, and you'll see that I've got this X, which is telling me that I'm intersecting that line, and a triangle, which is basically telling me that I'm at the midpoint there. And then I'm going to move my mouse carefully down, and you'll see that it's snapping relative to that. And then I'm going to draw up and hit Escape, and then I'm going to click on that line. And you can see over here in Sketch Palette, there's this contextual option that appears when I select a line that's called Normal/Construction. So I'm going to turn that on, and you'll see that that's changed my line to an orange dashed line. And basically what that means is that in the same way that a construction plane will help me do things in the 3D space, a construction line like this orange dash line is going to help me reference things for my 2D work, but not actually affect my drawing. So if I change that back to a normal, you can see that that area is filled up because I've created a boundary with the lines. But if I turn it back into a construction line, that's gone because this line is only for reference, and that's exactly what I want. So next, I'm going to go to Sketch and I'm going to pick Spline. And basically what I'm going to do now is create the pattern for my lampshade. So I'm going to start somewhere over here, and I'm going to draw this arcing shape down like that. And you'll notice that my my drawing, my spline has gone over the top and over the bottom there. And that's going to be really helpful later on, so I would definitely bear in mind that you do that. I'm just going to get rid of this arc here so that I don't get that solid fill, because I don't need that. There we go. And I'm going to tweak my spline a little bit. There we go. Cool. All right, next I'm going to offset this. So I'm going to go to Sketch and go to Offset. And click that guy. Pick my line. I'm going to give my thing an offset of -3. That looks good to me. And next up, what I want to do is go to Sketch and Line. And I just want to fill these ends in. So I'm going to click here and click here. And then zoom out and zoom in on this guy and fill that in. Cool. Now I don't need my projection lines anymore, so I'm going to delete those. I'm going to pick that and then hold down Shift on my keyboard and click on that one and hit delete. And now I need to mirror this to create my pattern. So I'll go to Sketch and then Mirror, and I'm going to pick this by drawing a window around it. So I'm going to start on the left side of my drawing and go to the right and do that. And that's picked all the parts of my drawing that I want to mirror. Next is my mirror line. So if I click on this and then click here, it's going to show you basically a preview of what that mirror line is going to look like. And then hit OK. Cool. I have these little intersections that are happening, and I need to get rid of those before I can jump back to the 3D. So I'm going to go to Sketch, go to Trim, and I'm going to trim that guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy. And then go up here and do the same thing. You'll notice that the line is highlighted in red, and the bit that's highlighted in red is basically the part that's going to be chopped off. Cool. All right, that's done. I can hit Stop Sketch now and turn my bodies back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically extrude this profile into my lampshade. So to do that, I'm going to go to Create and go to Extrude. And then I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to pick that profile of my drawing. And as I start to push it out, you'll notice that basically as I start to push it out, it's creating a new body. So it's a solid object. And once it starts to touch my model, when there's a collision basically detected in Fusion, it's changed it to red, and it's automatically here changed the operation to cut. I'm just going to keep pushing it and ignore that for now. So, okay, I'm the whole way through. Now I don't want to cut. And bear in mind, I haven't gone all the way through my lampshade. I've gone through one face. What I want is called an intersection. So if I go to Operation and pick Intersect, you'll see that basically I'm left over with the volume of where those two objects touch. So the profile that's cut through it and the profile of my lampshade create this shape, and that's what I want. So I'm just going to hit OK now. So that's what I wanted to see. And I'm going to turn the top and the bottom of my lampshade back on. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to pattern this bit round to create the full shape. So to do that, I'm going to go to Create, Pattern, Circular Pattern, and before I pick anything, down here you'll see this pattern type, and there's a few options. Now currently it's pick pattern faces, and pattern faces basically means if I click on that, it's only going to pattern that face, which is not helpful to me. I want to pattern the whole thing. So I'm going to change that to pattern bodies and then click on it. Next, I'm going to pick an axis, and you'll see that my origins popped up. Now I drew my my lampshade on the origin, meaning that I could just click that guy there, and you'll see that it's jumped 3 in. But you can also just pick one of these circular faces on your lampshade, and that'll do it as well. Next, you'll see that it's defaulted to 3. 3 is not enough. I can grab this wheel and move it in the plus direction, and that's basically going to just start adding more and more repetitions to my drawing. 8 still doesn't feel like enough, but my wheels stopped turning. I'm going to type 15 in here. Still don't think that's quite enough yet. I'm going to change that to 20. That looks good, and I'm just going to hit OK. And you can see it's just basically created 20 repetitions, and that's created my pattern. Now if I'm not happy with it, I can always just double click on that circular pattern and add more or less. So I could always just bump this up to 25 and hit OK. Do that. And basically just keep adding and removing as much as you want. And you'll see over here now in bodies, I've got a huge number of bodies. And that's because all of this stuff has come through as independent. So if I click on that, you can see it's highlighted that one. If I click on that one, number 20, it's highlighted that one. And it's because these are all basically just not connected yet. They're all independent pieces. So I want to combine this into one object because ultimately it is just one lampshade. So next to do that, I'm going to go to Modify, and I'm going to go down to Combine. And right here where it says Operation, I'm going to make sure that that's on Join. And I don't want to keep the tool, so I'm going to turn that one off. And my target body is this. I'm just going to do this over here. And this time I'm going to drag from right to left and just basically touch everything that I want to connect, like that. And I can just rotate around, make sure that everything is connected. Cool, that's what I want. I'm going to hit OK. Now this might take a little while. It is quite a lot of calculation to do where all those intersections are happening. So I might cut this video here and then jump back in. So see you in a second. Cool, we're back. Alright, so you can see I've just got one body. In this case it's called body 3. That's because body 3 was that top shape there, and that's what I've connected everything to. And we're nearly done. Basically we need to make a hole in the bottom and a hole in the top, and then we're good to go. So to do that, I'm just going to use the hole tool. So if I go to create and then go to hole and pick that top face up there, you'll see that basically what it's doing is it's simulating a drill hole. So you can see the point on the end there like you're using a drill. Now we're 3D printing this, so we wouldn't actually have a drill hole, but also going straight through that surface anyway, so it's not going to make a difference. And I'm going to grab this little guy up here. And as I move it around, you can see kind of faintly that Fusion has detected the center of that top face. And as I get closer to it, it'll snap to it. And there we go. And now it's snapped in place. And over here, I'm going to set the diameter to 46. Now the reason I'm using 46 is that the pendant that I have to hang the lampshade from is a 46 millimeter diameter piece. So I just want to make sure that it fits on there okay. And I'm going to hit OK on that. And then I'm just going to turn around to the bottom and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to right click, repeat hole, pick that bottom face, make sure that I've snapped to the origin, which is going to be actually the origin of my drawing in this case. And this time around, I'm just going to grab this guy, and that's going to change the size of my diameter. And I just want to make this nice and big, so I'm going to move it to 150, looks good. Make sure that I'm not cutting anything. If I'm afraid that this point shape might actually affect my drawing, you can see here where it says tip angle. If I just change that to 180, it's just going to make it flat. Great, that's what I want. It's just push it up to make sure I've gone the whole way through. There we go, and hit OK. And that's basically it. You've now made yourself a lampshade. Congratulations. Basically, if you want to make any changes to anything or you're unhappy with the shape, you don't have to worry about it. Down here in your timeline, you can double click on any one of these guys and make a change to it. You can change its dimensions, you can change the drawing, you can change your construction planes, like everything. You can make changes to all of it, and that's going to change your drawing up afterwards. It's going to change your model up afterwards as well. So I guess we might as well just show you 3D printing because it's so damn easy. So to do that, we'll go to Make, 3D Print, pick the body. I'm going to make sure that my refinement is set to high. And I've turned this option off down here, which is Center 3D Print Utility. But if you own an Ultimaker or you own a MakerBot or basically any other 3D printer, you can turn this on and you can see that Fusion has already detected that I have these options here. So if I wanted to send it to MeshMixer, MakerBot, or Print Studio, I can just do that. For now, I'm going to leave that off. And when I hit OK, I'm going to get an option here basically asking me where I want to save my file. So I'm just going to call this Lampshade. I'm going to save it on my desktop, hit save, and that's it. Now on my desktop, you'll see over here, I've got an STL. And that STL I can 3D print. Cool. Alright guys, I hope you found that first video helpful. Please leave a comment in the comments box below. Subscribe, there'll be more videos coming. Hit a like, it all helps. You can find me on Twitter, here or here. I haven't decided where I'm going to put it. Send me questions. Let me know what you would like me to cover in a video. Next video we're going to be talking about 2D drawing and how we're going to look at the parametrics a lot more. It's going to be really cool. And you can always, if you check my Twitter channel, I do these live. I do workshops all around London and in Europe as well. And we'll be covering a lot of really great stuff. And I hope you enjoy this channel. So see you in the next video. This is totally not awkward at all.